What is at the bottom of your lake of fear? Fear is at the bottom. We know fear in Chinese medicine connects to the kidney, the bladder, the root of who we are. Well, today my guest is far away from me in Thailand, but has years and years and years of experience in, first of all, being obviously a Chinese medicine practitioner, but also we're going to talk about addiction, his journey into learning all what he learned and applying it with his client, his patients. Not only that, but we're going to talk for the first time on the AcuPro Show about shamanism, because Randall is the sober shaman. And so you are going to love Dr. Randal Lyons. So without further ado, let's do this. Randal Lyons, thank you so much, and I should say Dr. Randal Lyons, for being on the AcuPro Show today. I really appreciate you coming all the way from the other side of the world, because I'm in Canada and you are in beautiful, beautiful Thailand. So welcome, Randal.
Thank you, Clara. I really appreciate it. Yes, I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. People think of Thailand, they think of those beautiful beaches, but I'm actually up in the north in the mountains. And it's just as beautiful, but different. And it's a magical place.
That's awesome. So, for people that are listening, first of all, you are a doctor of Chinese medicine. You are a licensed acupuncturist, which you did mostly everything in the US when you went to school. You are also a shaman, which I'm so intrigued and interested. So, I have so many questions on that. And you focus a lot on addiction. So, you have a big personal journey. And then obviously, you worked your way through Chinese medicine, shamanism, and the whole world of addiction and helping people that are struggling with it because you went through it. So, first of all, tell me a little bit of your background on how you got to the first part, which is how you got to Chinese medicine.
I'm born and raised in New York. I'm a New Yorker and I'm 62. So, growing up in the 60s, 70s, and then the 80s, New York was a very different place. And at that time in the 80s, everybody played musical instrument and everybody wanted to be a rock star, and I was no different. Long story short, me and two knuckleheads got into my car, which was called the Prayer. It cost $200. It was a Dodge Duster with East Coast rot all over it and rust. And it was called the Prayer because when you got in it, you prayed you'd make it. But we said, no, you know what we're going to do? We're going to drive all the way to Los Angeles and we'll become rock stars. That's right. And that journey taught me a lot about magic, synchronicity, the powers of forces, and yeah, a lot about life. So out of those two other people that went with me on that ride in September of 1985, one of them went back home and he almost immediately overdosed after switching to crack. And the other one is still out there rocking away. On our very first day in Los Angeles, we made friends with some other knuckleheads out there. There was about 11 dudes in one, it was a single apartment. And it was a magical ride as they went on to become as big. I don't like dropping names, but they're as big as stars that you can get in the industry. So the one friend I went out there is still out there with them. And I got off the express where I did my field research, let's just say, in the arena of addiction. I did a lot of field research. In 1988, I made a decision to start studying with a Chinese man named Wang Yu of the Chinese Life Force Institute out in Santa Monica. And he was the real deal. He was the coach and leader of the Beijing championship teams from China. And I absolutely loved everything he was able to pour into me.
Sorry, it was martial art you were learning from. Okay. Were you still addicted to substances, or were you better, or you were still in it? Okay, so you were still in it.
Deep in it. I was about as deep as we could get. And it wasn't just martial arts. At that age, young 20s, you wanted to jump, kick, be Bruce Lee, fly around and do all kinds of spectacular things. And he would be like, yeah, that's nice. But if you're going to do that, you're also going to have to do Tai Chi and Qigong and learn a couple of things about these other ways of doing things. It wasn't my favorite at the time, but it sure was interesting. And it was keeping me alive. And I would practice every day and go out every night. It was this interesting, strong dichotomy of being healthy and doing the exact opposite.
So you were on a yin and yang, basically polar opposite. You were doing the good Tai Chi and the good work for your body and mind during the day. And then at night, you were just going back to what you were before you did this. Did Chinese medicine help you with your addiction and to get over it? Or what's the next step in that journey?
Because I'm stubborn, I kept going at it. Oh, I could juggle this indefinitely. At some point, for most of us that use too much, the party just becomes over. And for me, it lasted until 1994. I stopped a few times before I actually really stopped. When I was coming to the end of the run, I didn't know who I was. So one of the sayings is I got to get rid of all my slippery people, places, and things. Otherwise, you just slide right back down those old slopes. When I had to stop playing music and put down that dream, I didn't know who I was. And getting rid of all the slippery people and places and things, that was my whole life. So the only things I had were this Chinese stuff and banging on a drum that seemed to work for me. The core shamanism that I was learning from the foundation of shamanic studies. And so I was like, that's the only other thing that means anything to me. Let me dive in head first. It was wonderful that I had those years with Wang Yu learning and feeling and experiencing what Qi was and how it worked from a firsthand personal perspective. I decided to go to school for these things. So that's when the big switch happened.
So 30 plus years now. Congratulations, first of all, because that's amazing. You're
Thank you.
here, you're helping people, you've learned a lot about yourself and life and anything that you're using today and tools that to help people. So that's amazing because you are here. Like a lot of people may not, or they may still be struggling and in a way that is very difficult. So you got into Chinese medicine, and I know you learned obviously because you did learn herbs as well, because you went and you had your license from the NCCOM. For people who are not familiar, that is the US, for not all states, but for the majority of states license, that's the regulatory body that allows you to practice and get your license. Did you practice right away focusing on addiction because you knew how it went and you could understand it much better than someone that never went through it? We always end up being the best at something we love or something we lived. And you definitely lived it. So I figured this is why you went into this. Or did you wait a bit? How did that started for you?
I didn't jump right into it, but it is interesting how the people that show up at your door tend to be those people. And there is this standardized treatment protocol. God bless the NADA protocol. Stick 5 needles in the ears, let them cook, as we say, and walk away. When I had to start treating people and they said to me, Randy, what are these 5 needles in my ears doing? How do you answer that? We're going to calm your shen and we're going to take care of your liver cheese. I can't say that. And it really bugged me that we didn't have straight, clear, plain English answers of what the heck are we doing? And so that, right from the very beginning, caused me to search for answers on my own to be able to explain it to myself, much less to other people. So it was a blessing and a curse to not jump into it right away and to utilize the medicine that I got for people with gallstones and back pain and all those wonderful things.
I think the universe as a way to always connect people in the way that they need to be connected. So people started to come and see you, even though you were not looking for them, they were looking for you and they found you. How the whole universe work in a mysterious way, or in a perfect way, I should say. The NADA protocol, now for people that are not familiar with it, because I have a lot of people that come and listen from all over the world, and I know not everybody knows about NADA. We'll put the link below if you guys want to check it out. But the 5 points that Randall was talking about, or on each ear, you put Shaman, you put sympathetic, you put the lung, the liver, and the kidney. Those 5 points are, the NADA protocol for addiction. The NADA protocol is great because it shows that it can help a lot of people, but it's also treating everybody the same way, which is kind of like everybody that has insomnia gets a sleeping pill, right? Like, it's like, okay, so if I have insomnia, you have insomnia, we're completely two different people, but we get the same pill. So I think it's a great start, like you said, but I don't think it's enough. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's missing a little bit of a piece that we learn in Chinese medicine. So when you started practicing, obviously you had the nada, like you said, which we all used once we learned it. And then what else did you use to help your patients that have, or that came to you for addiction?
Yeah, here we go. I was super blessed to stumble into people who were very open minded and open hearted when I was in Florida. South Florida is the rehab center of the universe for you can't throw a stone without hitting a rehab or a halfway house or a detoxification center. And anyway, I won't go into the business of it. We'll stay on this question. I was very lucky to, while I was doing some NADA protocols at some places, having very small groups, 1, 2, 3 people, I was able to really address each person's individual questions with the time that was needed. And those formative years forced me to use what I had come up with for about, by that time, it was already like 10 years for me in my own recovery. So I did have a model based upon the 5 elements. And I'll go into a small detail of this because it's that funny thing about the universe. But I'll answer the question succinctly now by saying I was given an opportunity to just go into the room and say, Randy, just, we don't know what you're doing, but they seem to like you and they want to stay. So I was able to develop in 2 specific facilities whatever I wanted to do, however I wanted to explain to them. And it was a wonderful opportunity for them and for me.
And so when you say this, what do you mean exactly? Like, you were speaking to patients in a way that they understood what you were doing. You were using the 5 elements theory. Were you using also the nada? Like, how would you approach the patient at that time?
Generally, a group would run an hour or an hour and a half, the general amount of time in a treatment center. In acupuncture terms, it would be a community center. You're right. I was thinking in terms of what a treatment center calls, they have the block in the schedule for their inpatients. So it's just this group, that group. It's either a private session or a group session. You're in there an hour. I would take advantage of that opportunity. Once the needles were in, I created a system of guided meditations. This will open an interesting can of worms with how I do things. When I went to school, my first semester, there was a class called The Philosophy of OM. This one esoteric oral tradition. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It's like the heart has these 7 openings, and they're called the eyes of the heart. And it relates to the 7 emotions. And when they're closed, the Shen gets blocked and doesn't come out these eyes of the heart. When the eyes are open, the person is enlightened, to use his words. Opening the eyes of the heart fit into this 5 element. Each element, particular chi, has a particular power, and those things are different, and has a particular responsibility of what goes down during the cycle of addiction. And it explains the cycle of addiction perfectly.
So when you look at the 5 elements and the emotions that are attached to each of those elements and opening the eyes of the heart, because in TCM, what I know is that all long-standing emotions eventually affect the heart. So to me, the opening the eyes of the heart makes sense because the heart reflects into the eyes, which is the Shen, the spirit. So it makes total sense. And when we look at anger and worry and overthinking and fear and sadness and joy and all those emotions that are connected to the 5 elements, So now you went and you contemplated this and kind of figured it out how it perfectly fit for you to utilize with patients. When you had someone that come for addiction and you have to figure out how you can help them and have a treatment plan for them, do you go into trauma? Do you go into what emotions are the one that are really surfacing for this person when they are trying to cope with life, with their addiction, with whatever? Like, how do you go about it?
People ask me, you do this stuff, you stick needles into people. What are you doing to me here? What do you believe? Is this against my beliefs? I'm a traditional fill in the blank religion. And I go, dude, it doesn't matter. What I believe is I have to figure out what you believe. And I have to start there. And we have to get on the same page because I've seen so many people who have paid a lot of money and have come out of a treatment center and go, I didn't get anything taken care of that I wanted to get taken care of. To me, that's heartbreaking. It's not only a wallet drain, it's heartbreaking because that might be the one chance that this person gets to be able to spend that kind of money or that kind of time.
You may not have that hope coming back to think, okay, I got to do this. And that might have been your chance. Absolutely.
Bingo. Couldn't have said it better. Exactly, Clara. And so for me, I have a triage. I break it down into 3 principles. Number 1, addiction affects the whole person, mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. Number
Yes.
2, addiction is a cycle. Okay. Addiction, principle number 3, addiction impacts every relationship in a person's life. I've found that everybody can get on board with that. It's like we start from a place where we all agree. Okay, what does that mean? So, principle number 1, to answer your question, mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. This is where the client's belief will become clear. Small tangent, because I believe that we're not addicted to drugs and alcohol or an action of choice. I believe we're addicted to beliefs.
And to change our belief. We can change our belief, right? Like you're absolutely right when you said it's a belief. I love that because I have so many patients that will come and say, I've been anxious all my life. That's who I am. So they believe this is who they are and there's no changing it because this is who you are, like the color of your hair. When I was younger, whatever I believe, I thought that's what I believe. But then I did a lot of work and self-development and etc. And I wanted to see, can I change my belief? Is it possible to change your belief? And then I went and tested it out once, twice, 3 times. And then suddenly I'm changing all those beliefs about myself and about life and about the universe and about everything around me. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is great. I know nothing, but I know one thing. Change is constant. And yes, I can change anything if I decide to, or not if I decide to as well. So continue. This is great.
That's it. That is so much of healing right there. And when I say, oh, I help people struggling with addictions, that eliminates a lot of people who I might be talking to based upon what they think of the addiction. When we go around the cycle is I'm addicted to the story. And I'm sure you could relate to this and clients, and you just nailed it right there. And so that almost covers everybody with every kind of malady. And this is why I love dealing with addicts, is because as an addict, at some point we say, all right, maybe I have a problem. What can I do? So they're on board. They know that I'm part of the problem. It's me. And that is such a head start, isn't it, when dealing with patients?
Yes, the awareness. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Randy, you got mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. What does that mean? Principle number 1, triage. They're going to come in and they're going to tell me, maybe I didn't take the oxys quite as, prescribed, but, I got back pain. It's not 100% physical, but they believe it's 100% physical. So I have to meet them there. So it's like, all right, got to deal with the physical stuff. And, oh, Randy, you do this other thing with the drum, man. I want to know about spirituality. I got a God-sized hole. That's my problem. That's why I have an addiction. Just tell me why. Give me some logical, concrete reasons why. Give me A plus B plus C. I'll do it. I'll follow the thing. Give it to me. So these are four very different people speaking four very different languages, I would say, and requiring four very different kinds of medicine. Lucky for us, Chinese medicine can deliver upon mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. So we've got something for everybody. So that's how I start.
That's really cool. I love that because you are using tools that involve the patient in understanding where they're at and when they need to be. And you're addressing, like you said, the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional. Do you see a lot of patients with insomnia, depression, anxiety? I sure do. Do you have patients wanting to get off their medications? Would you like to become more proficient in treating their mental illnesses and truly help them and get results? Over the years, I have seen how amazing TCM is when it comes to mental disorders. I mean, come on, acupuncture rocks for that. I have helped countless patients get off their antidepressants and sleeping pills. This is why I created the TCM treatment for mental disorders. Those are common mental disorders addressing depression, anxiety, insomnia, ADHD, and OCD. And you can join my private Facebook group to get constant support from an amazing TCM Rockstar community as well. Listen to what people who took this course have to say. You are amazing, Clara. I love that you are doing this and can't wait to learn more from your brilliant mind. Seriously, your passion and energy inspires a lot of us to learn more about TCM. Much appreciated always. And someone else said, Clara has an incredible ability to explain and teach TCM concepts with ease and clarity. She unscrambled many TCM concepts that were previously difficult for me to understand and retain. Her vivacious and enthusiastic personality has helped me fall in love with a healing modality dear to my own culture, one that I have almost left behind due to growing up in the Western world. Thank you, Professor Cohen. When investing in this course, you can download the PDF version of the slides to have them at your fingertip. You will get 2 continuing education hours, which are approved after you pass a multiple choice quiz, and you will get a certificate. You have access to the course forever, so you can watch it over and over if you need to. It is pre-recorded. And I always offer a 7-day money-back guarantee because I stand behind my product. So don't miss out. Invest in the mental disorders course today. Go to acuproacademy.com and click the TCM course tab on the menu bar, or check out the link below in the show notes. You won't regret it. I think my audience, a lot of people would know what a shaman or shamanism is, but some people may not be familiar. They might have heard the word, but they're not really sure what does that actually mean. What do you do? What is a shaman? So can you explain it in a way that everybody could understand that is not quite sure what a shaman does and what shamanism is?
No, but I'll do my best. The word, like so many words nowadays, it is loaded, and addiction is a loaded word. The etymology of the word is it comes from Siberia, and it's from the Sungus tribe, and we've taken that word and applied it as an umbrella for so many different assumptions of what it is throughout the world and what people have done that deal with the unseen world. And we'll get to China later, but generally speaking, a shaman is someone who goes into non-ordinary reality, a place where the spirits live, and on behalf of their client, their patient, their community, their family, on behalf of someone else, they will deal with the spirit and come back from that non-ordinary reality with knowledge, information, and healing power to use for the benefit of others here in what we call ordinary reality.
I think if you could tell someone about what a shaman is a person that can basically or is able to communicate with the outside of our physical world as we know it and able to grasp information to be able to relate it and share it back to people that don't have this ability yet, or they haven't tapped into it, or they haven't tried, or they haven't pursued or contemplated it. Is that kind of like an easy way to explain it?
Yes, No. Um,
Okay, then tell me.
Yes, you nailed it. They are the intermediary between, I want to be clear about this. This is where it gets sticky, spirits and people. There is a difference between power and energy. And China is one of the most convoluted places that does that. Qigong. I'm taking down heaven Qi. Sounds shamanic. And there's reputable, real deal teachers who are still around from China, and these paths are so intertwined between energy and power that it's indistinguishable. There's a reason for that, the same as it was pretty much everywhere around the world, in that shamans were persecuted. The Yellow Emperor, or the Emperor, was the only person who's supposed to have direct divine communication. The Pope and the clergy are the only people who are supposed to have divine direct communication. This is the Middle Ages and the Crusades. It's like you're not supposed to be able to have divine communication. You can find shamanism absolutely in old Chinese Qigong, but it was separated because, oh no, don't kill me. No spirits here. We're dealing with energy. And there is a distinct difference between energy and power, and that would be that energy, like the energies of the elements, for example, they follow the laws of the Tao. They follow the laws of nature. So when we do Qigong and we are doing acupuncture, we are using Qi and we are following the laws of the Tao. We are following the laws of yin yang. We are following the laws of time and space. And we can, as an agent, manipulate these energies to the benefit of our patients. The shamanic practitioner, what we want to do is we want to be a conduit for the helping and compassionate spirits, get completely out of the way. I'm not manipulating anything other than clearing the phlegm from the eyes of my heart so that the spirits can shine through and do the needed work here in ordinary reality. And that is power that has intention. It has a source from a helping and compassionate being. So those are two very different things. Yet, when we practice shamanism, there will be energetic shifts in the body, absolutely. But I just want to make that clear distinction between the two.
Okay, I appreciate that. I always say to my students that your intention behind your treatment with each patient is more powerful than your point selection, right? So I totally, right? That's what I say all the time. So you totally reinforce this by what you just shared. You're like the conduit. You're just really clearing who you are so the other person can receive the energy. So I love that. My question is, how does someone become a shaman? How do you communicate with something that's outside the physical world? How do you learn this?
I like to tell people that I'm answering your question by not answering your question. Very Chinese of me. It's like any other profession. There are good and there are bad. And it doesn't matter if it's a car mechanic, a lawyer, an acupuncturist, or a shamanic practitioner, or someone that calls themselves shaman. Generally speaking, a person doesn't call themselves a shaman. It's the community that calls you a shaman because you've gotten results. Just like my first principle. It's more about starting a discussion. And I think that's how a person would go into beginning shamanic work and investigating it, is starting a discussion with somebody who has traveled the path further down from you. That said, just like acupuncture school, it's a tremendous undertaking, generally speaking, in a lot of indigenous societies and still in Korea and still in rural parts of China. This is something that you get by default, either through a family lineage. How do you become a shaman? Because the spirits make you that way. And for me, looking back, I would say that the incident that flipped it for me, but not beknown to me at the time, was a psychotic break. That's what makes our beliefs come to reality, is we think the world is innocent. We think the world is one way. And then we get slammed by this meteor of heartbreak. And it goes right through the pericardium and it slams into the heart and it changes us forever. As a human, our first reaction is, that is never happening to me again. And the walls of the pericardium go up. And so the pericardium takes those orders. The chi is stored. The trauma is stored in that pericardium. The trauma is stored in the body, in these organs. And this is where the map of TCM really is amazing. So dismantling that belief with the help of the spirits is one of the things along the path of practicing shamanism that will show to you it works, will prove to you that it works. Let's start with that.
I understand that my question is not easy to answer in a way that is exactly explaining the answer. It is not a one single straight black and white answer, because I think shamanism is not a straight black and white answer. So I totally get that. So it wasn't confusing at all. How long you lived in Thailand now? Because you're in Thailand. Why did you go to Thailand? And what are you doing now of your practice in Thailand?
I did want to bring up that before I was in Thailand, I did go to Canada for a while. My wife's also a doctor of Chinese medicine. She went to school in Nelson out in
No
British
way!
Columbia.
Yes. One of the best school in British Columbia. I looked at that school when I went to school in Vancouver. However, I had a job in Vancouver, and if I went to Nelson, I would not have a job, and I wanted to be able to support myself when I went to school for 5 years. So I did not, but I know a lot of people that went there and absolutely loved it. Plus, for people that are listening, this is in British Columbia, and Nelson is a region that is surrounded. It's a really beautiful town that is surrounded by beautiful mountain where you could ski and hike, and it's just a wilderness, and it's a beautiful place. So it's literally the perfect spot to learn energy medicine.
That's exactly how she feels.
Wow, that's so cool.
The spirituality is so much closer, it feels to me, ingrained in the average person's life. And how the shamanic is also infiltrated the Buddhism here. I love that. And there's a lot of animism, which is one of the foundational principles of shamanism in most places around the world, that everything is alive, everything has chi. So there is that correspondence, and what's not to come out here for. So I'm returning to roots, and at the same time, I'm taking roots deeper.
That's great. Can you practice acupuncture, both of you, in Thailand freely? Is it easy to practice? Do you need a license? Like, how does that work?
Back to those people who I was working with in the treatment centers, in that I got to a point where in certain centers, they just wanted me to explain things. It was like, you know what? Let's leave out the acupuncture and let's just have you do that cycle of addiction thing and do your explaining. And they seem to like that. And it helps us keep the clients engaged. Let's just put it that way. They saw a benefit to what I was doing. It was beautiful because then I also got to go out and speak at conferences to spread this medicine, and that we do have answers, and that we can address every mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, every aspect of the whole person. We can address every single aspect of the cycle of addiction. I'm doing Zoom sessions. I'm semi-retired in that respect. I still have the people who want these kinds of approaches and these kinds of answers in plain English. Wonderfully to integrate it with modern psychology, all different aspects. It just works. I like to start in water, in the deep, dark depths of the water, the zhur, like we were talking about. How does the zhur get programmed? It gets programmed by belief. The zhur is directed by this adherence to I. What am I? What do I need to do? What do I need to protect? And in psychology, they call this the limiting core belief. And for me, in treating addiction and treating just about any other malady that requires participation from the patient, we need to get to that. We need to get to the core, the seeds, right? That's that part of the cycle. This is where the seeds are stored underneath the frozen winter soil. They're hidden. We need to get to that I am statement. I am. And as a result of the trauma, the abuse, the heartbreak and loss that's never happening to me again, I'm going to come up with some kind of statement that says, yeah, but I am dirty. I am unlovable. I am broken. I am weak. And those are the simple ways of saying it. But those limiting core beliefs at the depths of the water, and to bring it back to shamanism, one of the core things that we do in core shamanism is we teach the person how to journey. So this goes back to me doing quote unquote guided meditations inside the treatment centers. I was really taking them on a shamanic journey. And depending upon the language that they want to use, their belief system that they want to use, this could be 100% within them as a psychological endeavor and their imagination making it all up, all within the sphere of me. Or this could be a spiritual journey where you are meeting your helping and compassionate spirit. It could be Buddha, Jesus, the saints. It could be your power animal, where you are taken to. In this case, I would lead them, what is at the bottom of your lake of fear? And I would guide them step by step to go into the lake, maybe with the needles in, and helping and compassionate spirit go with you. What was at the bottom? How did fear change after you looked at the thing that you're most afraid to look at the bottom of your lake? So the beauty of metaphor. That's our wheelhouse in Chinese medicine, metaphor and symbolism. The power of healing that the patient undertakes by doing this simple endeavor. Call it spiritual journey, call it a guided meditation. Maybe this is happening in a private session where I am actually treating kidney yin deficiency and we're going into the water and how this relates to their deficiency fire and we're treating the heart. So this is a wonderful stew of how we put it together.
I love when you said, what is at the bottom of your lake of fear? That is such a good quote and such a good question, because fear is so pushed down at the bottom somewhere and it just needs to come out. And for a lot of people, fear can come out as anger, it can come out as depression, as anxiety, but it's the root, it's the bottom of the lake, and it might come out as a different emotion, shame and guilt. And like you said, broken, feeling unworthy, self doubt, self esteem issue. All those things come from the fear, right? I love that you said that. That's such a beautiful sentence. So thank you for sharing that. Final thoughts for everyone. Randall, I would love for you to just give us anything to finish with that you are passionate about, always in your heart.
Do this work. If you are a practitioner, if you're a student, if you're a client, the work has the capacity to help you. It is there. Push for your answers. Push your teachers to give you answers, even if they tell you to go meditate, go journey on it, go practice Tai Chi. The answers are there. Be stubborn. Go to the bottom of your lake and find out what's blocking you. I'll go to the bottom of mine, and it's always different as time goes on. I would say this: stop searching, start trusting. We have these answers. We don't need to bend this medicine that has been around since we've been asking questions of how do we heal. We don't need to hammer or sacrifice the beauty, the eloquence, the elegance of our medicine. And we didn't even get into herbs and the beautiful elegance of all of that stuff, right? We have so many wonderful ways to help people. And we have the capacity to help so many today that are looking for help. So thank you and all your listeners and all the practitioners who are listening for what you do. It spurs me on. And Clara, I appreciate your open-ended question asking and your open-heartedness and the curiosity you bring. This really was a pleasure. I really appreciated it.
It was my pleasure, first of all, because I love to meet new people. I love to learn from everyone. And you said, stop searching, start trusting. And that's what I love about doing podcasts with people I've never met, because I'm trusting the ability for us to exchange ideas, to exchange energy, to exchange anything that is going to help us grow. And so you coming in on today helps us grow. So I want to thank you from Canada all the way to Thailand for coming today. It was such a pleasure meeting you. And I know there's so much more we could talk about, but hey, maybe you come back and we talk about herbs and other things. Life is just full of surprise and you never know where it's going to take us. So thank you so much, Randall.
And as we say in Thailand, kapun kap, which is thank you. And
Oh, kapung kap.
you would say kapun ka because the females and the males do have different.
Oh, kapung ka. Oh,
There you go.
I love it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I truly hope you benefited from this episode, and I would love for you to share it with a friend that may benefit from it as well. Follow the show, leave a review, and if you want more, go to my website, acuproacademy.com. I have tons of resources there with treatment protocols, case studies, free courses, and so much more. And connect with me on all social media at AcuPro Academy. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, Pinterest, and LinkedIn and TikTok. And no matter what, keep rocking it using TCM. Please listen to the disclaimer because the AcuPro Show podcast and material shared through AcuPro Academy, which is a subdivision of Natural Health Sense Incorporated, are designed solely for educational and entertainment purposes. The utilization of information from this podcast or any associated material is at the user's discretion and risk. This content is not meant to replace the guidance of an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine doctor, medical doctor, physician, or any qualified professional, nor is it a substitute for proper diagnosis or treatment. Users are strongly advised not to ignore or postpone seeking medical advice for any existing medical condition with their healthcare professional regarding any health concerns.